Morning. Oh, well, let's get started here. I was expecting for the microphone I got to be better, but man, I listened back to yesterday's episode, first half and second half, and it was just crazy how big of a difference this new microphone makes. Like, I might have to restart the podcast just to use the new mic for everything, but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that, but it is very nice having a microphone now that works really good for in the vehicle and really cuts out the background noise, because I am not doing any of that myself. It's just the microphone, and y'all probably can't even hear the sounds of the highway right now. So I think it's going very well with the new mic, and definitely would recommend. Oh, but what in the world? Oh, there's a bag in the road. So I'm just passing by a cop pulling someone over, but that's good because there's been a big problem with. So there's a stretch of road on the highway that is near where we live here, and it is just like every single day, I just hear at least one person tearing down it. And if we're outside walking down the street, you can see the road from certain parts of the street, and you'll just hear this super loud noise. And I mean, I've said before on the podcast, I don't like loud cars, but you'll just hear this super loud noise and then look over, and then there's this car like just flying by on the highway doing like at least 90 miles an hour. And I think that they finally got enough complaints that they started pulling people, or started putting up officers on the road and pulling people over for it, because it was getting really bad. Like, oh, I wasn't mentioning it, but while I was recording the podcast, I'd get passed by like 2 or 3 people going like not 70, 80 to 90 miles an hour down the road. And speed limit is about 65. So, yeah, it is quite a bit over. But, I know that a lot of people don't like the enforcement of speed limits very strong. And I definitely get that you kind of want to be a little bit lenient with speed limit of like speed limit 65. I wouldn't really want anybody to be pulled over for up to like 70 or 72 even, but once you start getting too high, then it just starts getting plumb dangerous. And I think a lot of people don't realize just how dangerous it is to drive that fast. Like, I mean, I've done it before. I know that a lot of people have, and I'm not saying that, oh, that's so terrible that you need to go to prison or anything, but I do think that the ticketing system helps to remind you to not just completely overdo it and start endangering people by going 90 miles an hour. Oh, but so it's, yeah, I also do get though that having it's not really always going to be the best use of policing time, because there's just so many better things they could be doing a lot of the time, but than just sitting there waiting on traffic violations. But at the same time, they do need to monitor the traffic, especially in areas where people are prone to dangerous behavior that they need to stop. But I don't like the idea of, like, full on speed traps where the officer is like hiding behind a tree. Like, I feel like that's just trying to catch people. Whereas, like, if you're sitting in the middle of an open field and people can obviously see you coming from both sides of the road, they're going to slow down and they're going to drive better. And you don't have to pull anybody over to make everybody drive better, if that's what the real goal is. But if the goal is to give people tickets, then you're going to hide and try and catch them when they're doing the worst, not give them the benefit of the doubt and let them correct their behavior if they remember what they're supposed to be doing. But I think it's just one of those things that kind of there's a bit of debate about, back and forth, and you never quite know, just because there are a lot of arguments to why current ticketing systems are not as effective as we want them to be. But also, if you're just sitting there and giving a ticket to anyone who's even a mile per hour above the speed limit, that's just spending a lot of time and effort on something that's not really a problem. So if you only target people who are doing dangerous speeds, well, then it's a little also up to each officer's interpretation of what makes a certain speed dangerous. Because, like in the school zone, there's a reason that those speed limits are reduced, because you got to watch for kids who are going to be running into the road willy-nilly. So that one you got to enforce pretty strictly. But out on a highway in the middle of open country, like 80, 85 miles an hour is probably not really that dangerous if it's a divided highway. But on a city street, 80 miles per hour is going to be risking killing people left, right, and center. So it's just difficult, because the speed limits need to be there, but enforcement of them is always a kind of subject you got to maneuver around a bit, figure out what works best and what is actually, because I know there's, I don't remember where it was, but there was some small town I heard about growing up just because, you heard about people going through there, but it was somewhere around where I lived that people said there were always a couple of cops just watching who would pull over anyone who was going even just 5 miles over on the highway. Like, they gave out tickets all the time. But uh, then there were certain stretches of road where I remember there was a road out to the south from town that, like, everybody knew, just nobody ever watched that road, and so that's where people would go to speed, and they'd start getting up to like over 100 miles an hour, which is going to be dangerous no matter what the road condition is. And so it's like, yeah, you have to have some enforcement, but if you have too much, then it just seems like you're trying to get people's money instead of actually keeping the roads a safer place. But anyway, I'll have more energy after at the next section, but that's all for now. So y'all have, well, I was gonna say y'all have a good day, but for y'all, I'll be back in less than a minute. So probably not necessary. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of today's podcast. Oh, well, last night I used the timer coffee maker again, so I filled it up last night, and this morning had it automatically brew my coffee so it was ready when I got in there for breakfast. And I definitely did better this time with not having as much caffeine, because I drank the whole thing again and I do not feel as much of a super buzz as I did a couple days ago. Well, not super buzz, just a little bit of a jitters, but yeah, today I don't feel any jitters at all, so I think I did it right this time. I used a lot less grounds, and I also used pre-ground instead of freshly ground because I didn't want to use the grinder, and I have some coffee that I got from my brother-in-law that I was using, so it worked a little better and I don't feel as jittery. Oh, but yeah, that was kind of funny a couple days ago that I accidentally overdid the coffee so much. But anyway, oh, this past weekend, I don't know if I mentioned it, but we went over and spent some time with my nephews and niece at my sister-in-law's house. They were out of town, and my in-laws, so my wife's parents, were watching all their kids and invited us over to spend some time there. And they have a new pool, in-ground pool that's pretty deep. Well, not super deep. I mean, one end is only like a little bit, but then the deeper end is about 7 foot, I think. So that's, no, not 7 foot. It's, maybe, I don't remember how deep it is, but it's deep enough that I think it's about 9 foot deep, actually. Because I was a little ways underwater when I hit the bottom. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. I didn't have goggles with me. I borrowed some from my nephew, but he was his are not the best quality. They kept getting water in them and fogging up really bad. So, but I have some old competition goggles that I used that were provided by my high school when I was in swimming, and so they are really good. But yeah, I was using his, so I couldn't really see that well, and they kept slipping off. But yeah, I was swimming with my nephews because nobody else really wanted to, and they were wanting to swim. So I was like, I enjoy swimming. I'll swim with them so they have an adult in the pool supervising. But it was a lot of fun. I don't get to swim very much anymore because it's hard to find a publicly accessible pool that is really any good. At least that's the way it is here, just because we are in the middle of a very dry area, so it's kind of hard to keep a pool outdoors, and indoors is real expensive. So they're all private gyms and clubs and stuff like that. But I think I just kind of got used to in high school using a 25-meter pool. So I'm like, the minimum I want for exercising is 25 yards, which I'd really prefer 25 meters or maybe even 50 meters. But that's Olympic size, and that is huge. So I understand why that's not available, but oh, yeah, it's too big. Like, even 25 yards is so big that no private pools around here are that big, like even private gyms or anything like that. It's all smaller just for, like uh, water aerobics mainly. I don't think there's any like big uh, competition swimming around here because there's four 25-yard pools, I think. Or I think there's three 25-yard. Or no, there's two 25-yard and then two 25-meter. And the 25-meter, I think, well, actually, I don't know, because there's one at the college here, like the big college, but I don't know how big that is, and you have to have like I think that one is technically publicly accessible, but it's way downtown. I don't really want to drive 20 minutes to get there, and then on top of that, it's not the cleanest, and it's full of a ton of people all the time, so I don't really want to use that one. And then I think there's a 25-meter one for the high schools, but that's not open to the public. That's only open to the high schools and local swimming clubs. And then there's another local swim club one, but I don't think that's open to the public either. And that's 25 yards. And then I think there's a 25-yard one open to the high schools in the area. That's the old competition center before they made the new one. But again, that's not publicly accessible. I think the only publicly accessible one is at the college, and I'm not really wanting to use that one. So, and even though it's publicly accessible, I think you still have to pay every time. But it's too far away and not really. I don't want to spend 40 minutes driving back and forth just to work out for 20 minutes. So I also just don't want to spend money to join a gym when I don't really enjoy using gyms very much. Because I don't do a lot of lifting when I work out. I mainly do like running or swimming. I don't remember what that's called, but pretty much getting your heart pumping and stuff you could mainly do at home anyway, like body weight exercises. That's what I prefer. And so I just need to find a good area to do it in the house, really, which we have a spare room that has room to like do push-ups and stuff, but then I always forget. I need to start running. I was running for like a month and a half or so. I would run every morning uh, before work, but I stopped doing that because we were out of town and then there was like real bad weather for a week. And so I went like a week and a half without doing it. And then by the time the weather shaped up, I just was out of the habit and haven't been able to get back into it. So I need to start doing that again. I think that's what I'm going to try to do is start running again, because that's better than uh, going and doing weightlifting for just kind of keeping generally healthy. And then body weight stuff is really all you need to keep healthy, like push-ups and burpees are, I don't know what the other name for them is, but where you just do a push-up and jump in the air, then do a push-up. Those like jumping jacks, that sort of thing is more what I need. But just that combined with working outside here and there is probably enough to keep me in shape. I just gotta remember to do them. But that's all the time we have for now. So I will continue this here in a little bit. And welcome back to part 3 of today's podcast. Nope. I think I accidentally hit a button. Nope. Thought I accidentally hit the mute button, but I didn't. All right. Oh, I thought about maybe having some sort of like musical sting in between the sections of the podcast to emphasize the separation. And I think that might be some kind of fun. I guess I would. My wife, my wife has musical experience, so she could compose it, and I could probably make it on some kind of app. But I think that could be kind of fun. So I might look into that. Probably won't happen for another few weeks at least, but could be fun. The one benefit to uploading these daily is if I have any material that I do want to use, uh, I'll have a proof of use almost immediately. So it won't be if there ever is a copyright issue with something that I do have the right to use, it'll be very clear the date that it kind of went into effect and all that. But that, I have no idea. I just heard a random noise from somewhere. So I hope that this is still recording. But Oh, anyway, let's see. I had an idea of what to talk about. Oh yeah, I was wanting to talk about kind of like uh, there's some open areas around town that are like really nice and grassy with the kind of a local prairie grass. And I just was thinking because like I live in a suburban area pretty much where it's a lot of houses that have lawns and yards and stuff like that. But I was thinking about how, you know, it's everybody kind of uses grass that is more kind of tailored to the type of lawn that they want. But I was thinking, if I do have a grass lawn, I mean, I don't have a choice right now because I didn't plant the grass in my backyard, and I'm not the one who technically owns it, and so I don't think I'm allowed to change what grass is back there. But I was thinking how if I do end up putting grass around the house we end up owning eventually, I want to get some kind of more native plants to kind of prioritize native plants in my local or in my personal area, because I know that is supposed to be better ecologically in terms of like water usage, but also because it kind of encourages more of the local animals and bugs and that kind of thing that naturally have the same stuff that they like to eat and live in and all that. But I also just prefer the local flora because I like, pecan trees are local to Texas. I'm not sure if they're completely local to this area, but I'm pretty sure they do naturally grow somewhere here and there. But I know mesquite trees are local, and they do grow just wild around here. And I like mesquite trees pretty good. They definitely have good, they're good for like, they smell good when you burn them, and they are good for smoking and cooking food, which I kind of do want to, if we have enough land, I do kind of want to grow some trees just to use for firewood and that kind of stuff. Because I do like having fires and wood, not wood grilling, I prefer charcoal grilling. I don't have much grilling experience because I mean, I've never lived in a house, I've only lived in apartments, and only a couple that really have the room for a grill. So I've done a tiny bit of grilling, but not a lot. But I do prefer the kind of charcoal flavor you get, and especially with wood chips. I like wood chips on it, and so I was thinking, yeah, because we like having fires in the fireplace in the winter. It's kind of a luxury more than a necessity because we have a heater that works just fine, so it's not really needed, but it's one of those things that's nice to have indoors. And if you want to have like s'mores or something in the summer, just having a nice little fire outside, that's something I definitely want to do eventually when we have a house. So having some source of my own wood for that, it'd take like a good 5 years or so to get enough wood from a tree to make it worth it. But if I could, plant a few different, plant like a good little field of trees, and then have like after 5 years have a tree every year, and then I guess you'd only need like, if you planted 10 trees and then only cut down one tree a year for firewood, then you could have like 10 trees, and that'd give you 10 years between growing and cutting, unless something happened to one of the trees. But yeah, that's an interesting thought. Which I guess I'd like to plant a lot of trees, a lot of different kinds too. Mostly pecan, because I really love pecans, and I think that I'd like to have pecan trees. The trees are nice, but also the pecans themselves are really worth having because they're expensive to buy from the store for one thing, but also it's good to uh, have some. And if you have a whole lot of them and you can pick them all up, you can sell them, and they sell for a bit, which not a ton of money, but enough to over the years cover the cost of buying and keeping the trees, especially since they can grow pretty good without very much watering with just the local rainfall. They do need a bit of irrigation, but not much. So those are a good thing to have. I do want fruit trees, but fruit trees do require irrigation, and it really depends on the fruit you want. I know that peaches and apricots grow here. I'm not sure about other types of fruit trees. I want a kumquat tree because I cannot find kumquats in any stores anymore. I don't know if they just weren't popular, so they stopped selling them, or if they just aren't local, so it wasn't economical to continue carrying them, or what. But it's been like 5 years since I saw a kumquat in a local store, and I do really like kumquats. Which, if you've never had them, it's kind of like a very small citrus fruit. It's uh, the size of a large grape, pretty much, but it's like an orange in appearance with the textured skin and the orange yellow kind of coloration, with a little bit of red when they get ripe. But then when you pick them off the tree, you pick them off as they are with the skin on, and then you just wash them and eat them skin and all. And I really enjoy them, but I haven't been able to find them for years. And I might also just be looking in the wrong season, because this year I was determined to figure out where I could find some, and I looked it up, and they're actually a winter fruit. For some reason, I thought they were a summer fruit, so I might have just been looking in the wrong season and not been paying enough attention in the winter. But I'm going to try to see if I can find some this coming winter. See about maybe finding some. Which I'd really like to see about having a tree, but that's something more for the future, because I could plant a tree now, but if I planted it in the ground, it would be hard to move it. And if I planted it in a pot, even a large pot, it would be very difficult to move that as well. So in order for it to really be in a healthy growing position, I need to wait until we buy a house. But yeah, I want peaches as well. I like peaches or plums or apricots, any of those. But I don't know which ones. I'd probably take whichever grew best. in the local area, just so that it would require the least amount of upkeep. Because I don't mind working on them, but I definitely want to uh, kind of prioritize stuff that's already going to do well. That way it isn't as difficult to get the trees growing and get everything going. Which I'd like, as you can probably tell, I'd like a big garden one day, but we were talking about maybe planting some food this year, like some mainly herbs or small vegetables. But we live very close to a highway and there's tons of traffic right by our house, so we decided it's probably better not to grow food right now. But that's all the time I have for now, so I will continue this later. Hello and welcome back to the fourth part of today's podcast. You know, I'm probably just going to keep referring to everything as it happens to me rather than as it'll happen in the podcast, because I think it's makes much more sense to just refer to it as I experience it, especially since I don't really expect this podcast to ever become popular. And so I think this will be more of a essentially a diary, an audio diary, I guess, more than any kind of actual interesting media. I do want to do YouTube videos still. I think that could be fun, and learning how to edit and all that. But I have essentially just tampered my expectations so that I know this probably won't be that popular. So more of an audio log or audio diary than an actual podcast for widespread listening. But it's kind of, think of it more like that kind of makes sense in a way, because it reformats the kind of expectation for it. And it kind of helps. But I know that my wife listens to these, and I really appreciate that if you're listening to this one in particular, honey. But I think probably these will mainly be listened to by my family, and whether it's now or in 50, well, I'm 20, so 50 to 80 years when I'm gone, could be listened to then. It's probably not something I'll keep up forever. I don't even know if I'll keep it up the rest of the year, but something I'm doing for now and will be interesting, and I feel like it'd be good to keep it up for posterity's sake, and even if it doesn't really make that big of a dent. I do, thinking about, people who keep diaries, it is interesting to look back to the past in those kind of formats, and probably this kind of format too, but to kind of take a look back and see what life was like day to day, or what the experiences and everything were. And I think that'll be interesting enough on its own merit. Having a daily record 5 days a week of everything going on. But it's kind of one of those things you don't love thinking about. I think just naturally people don't really love thinking about what'll happen after they're gone, even if it's most likely going to be far in the future. It's still not pleasant to always think about, but I think that's something I do want to not be so afraid of is death and talking about it, because I believe that Christ came and saved me. So whenever it is time to go home, I'm going home, and it'll be a much better place than I'm at now. But faith is hard, and so even though I know that and I try and live it as much as I can, it is hard to keep reminding myself sometimes that this world is not my home. It's one of my favorite church songs there is This World Is Not My Home. This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. They're all expecting me, and that's one thing I know. And I can't stay at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Just up in glory land we'll live eternally. The saints on every hand are shouting victory. The song of sweetest praise drifts back from heaven's shores, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Oh Lord, you know I have no friend like you. If heaven's not my home, then Lord, what will I do? The angels beckon me from heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. I know there's more verses to that song, but I just can't remember them right now. Oh, those are the main two, I think, though. But I like that song. It's fun, and I like, kind of a little bit jazzy songs. There's this one, I'm going to try and remember it. I don't think I can remember the beginning, but I'll start with the part I do remember. Because when you're walking down heaven's road, you gotta lay down that heavy load. Jesus said he'd walk along with me. Praise God, glory, hallelujah. I'm singing every day, all the way. Got the sun shining every day. So won't you come along and join me on that heaven's road? There ain't no tears, no crying there, ain't no sadness anywhere. Ain't got time to shed a tear when you're walking down heaven's road. And when you're walking down heaven's road, you gotta lay down that heavy load. Jesus said he'd walk along with me. Praise God, glory, hallelujah. I'm singing all the way. I got sunshine in every day. So won't you come along and join me on that heaven's road? That's all I can remember of that one, but I like that one a lot. I really like the jazzy ones. There's one that's an old song that I've heard sung multiple ways, but I like it a little jazzier. It's let's see if I can remember this one. Blue skies and rainbows and sunbeams from heaven are what I can see. When my Lord is living in me, I know that Jesus is well and alive today. He makes his home in my heart. Nevermore will I be all alone, since he promised me that we never would part. Tall mountains, green valleys, the beauty that surrounds me all makes me aware of the one who made it all. I know that Jesus is well and alive today. He makes his home in my heart, down in my heart. Nevermore will I be all alone, since he promised me that we never would part. That probably didn't sound very jazzy, but if you've heard the old version of that, you know that's a jazzier rendition of it, because the old version is very kind of slow. I might have been thinking of a different song. I don't know. Sometimes I get some of those mixed up that have very similar words, but yeah, I really do enjoy singing and talking about singing, because it's a fun thing that I've liked doing for a while now. So I do think I'm going to keep doing that, diary or no. Hopefully just all those songs are out of copyright, or at least the a cappella version is. But that's all the time we have for today. So I will see y'all next time.